welcome to the Press Start Podcast, Press Start Australia's weekly video game discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ewan, joined today by my fellow gamers and co-hosts, Brody.
Hello.
Shannon.
Hello.
And James.
Hello.
Well, everyone, it's finally happened. We've heard your pleas, and finally we put together a video version of the podcast. We're going to be publishing.
Everyone's been begging.
There's been a couple of people that have requested it. It's something we've been looking to do for a while. We spent a bit of time putting this together. I need to thank Jake for putting the design of it all together. I'm sure this is still going to be a work in progress, and we figure things out as we go. But yes, the plan is to release a video version over on our YouTube at the same time as the audio comes out. Feel free to continue listening to it / consuming it to it however you want. But James, if you were to watch the video version, what sort of goodness would you be witnessing? Sell someone on the video version of the podcast.
I'm often told by a lot of people that a lot of my communication is non-verbal when I say things. So
yeah, literally, your sassiness, like you just literally rolling your eyes when anyone else speaks, is going to come through loud.
Yeah, so like when it becomes like personal attacks, like already has, like now you get to see what that looks like.
And when your microphone bugs out and you turn into a chipmunk as well, we've ever witnessed that.
There's never been a better time for James to do a live eating fast food segment on the podcast, I feel, than now. So look forward to that. I'll say.
A microwave meal every week.
I thought you were going to mention the animated GIF that you have on your microphone as well.
Oh yeah, people can see that. Yeah, it's an eggplant today. Exciting. You can actually make your own. Maybe I'll make some cool logos at some point. But yeah.
You could open it up to the viewers over on YouTube. They could design what appears
the
in your
fans, if you will.
Yes, we'll do a Patreon, and you get to pick which vegetable we display each week.
All right. We should get stuck into the rest of the show. But Shannon, before we do, tell us, what PSVR 2 games have you been playing?
So I just went to jump into Resident Evil, but I don't know if it's not working. So definitely not that, but that's the one I'm really keen to jump into. To be honest, the last week and a half has really just been sampling everything, but I am keen to go back to Moss and Moss 2 because I haven't played those. I'm keen to play Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. I'm just ruining whatever that is, but I played a little bit of that Quest.
Something.
Yeah. What else? You put me on the spot here as if I didn't have these show notes before this moment. What the Bat is really good. I'm keen to play more. And then really just waiting. Kayak VR. I'm keen to jump in more. That's beautiful. It's a really good looking game and really makes use of the controllers. But I'm really still just waiting for Saints and Sinners and Switchback and a few of those other games. There's a lot there.
It's good that there's still a couple on the horizon as well. I was eager to ask you, seeing as I'm sure a lot of people will be picking theirs up this week and might be wondering what games to give a go. Exciting that some still on the way.
Pistol Whip is really good as well. I think definitely pick up Pistol Whip. Nice little arcade.
You had a good time with Horizon as well?
I did. I must admit, I don't know. When I think about VR, I more love those little experiences that feel arcadey. I just feel like a game like Horizon, it just isn't better than Horizon in its original form for me. So I don't know. I don't quite get it. It does look gorgeous and makes use of the headset well, and it's a great little game, but I don't know if it's necessarily what I'm looking for in a VR experience, but that might change with the power that the PS5 brings to VR.
Okay.
Pick it up. I think pick it up.
Felt the same, but I'll need to go and read his review on the website. Speaking of reviews, Brody, you wrote one this week, a rather big one that we were excited about, but I think Atomic Heart left you a little bit broken-hearted. Your review sounding a little disappointed. Tell us what you made of the game.
Yes, as you established, it's a bit of a disappointment to me. It's probably the first big disappointment I've had this year in terms of games. We've been lucky so far. Obviously, it's early. It's probably a bit of a mess. It's got a lot of bloat in some areas, and ultimately, its ambitions to recapture what is probably shamelessly very much a Bioshock tone and style of combat ultimately kind of falls flat and hamstrings the entire experience for me. things that it does well, like the combat so far, like throughout my whole experience, I didn't have any dramas with it. I liked it a lot. I didn't really dive heavily into the upgrade paths. I felt they were a bit overwhelming toward the end. So once I found sort of combos that I found worked, I sort of stuck with them. But the game does force you to change things up with different boss encounters and certain enemies that require, elemental damage and stuff like that. The art direction is obviously beautiful. Like, the game's stunning. Like, even on Series X, which I reviewed it on, like, it looks really nice. Like, it doesn't look as good as when I previewed it on, like, that Alienware laptop. It was never going to, I guess, but it still looked really nice. Performance-wise, it was a little bit, like, juddery, and, like, there was, like, weird frame rate stuff going on. Like, you'd be walking through, like, a warehouse, and, like, robotic walkers at the front of scene look alright, but then the ones in the far, like, background are, like, really juddery and, like, framey, like, very odd. But so beyond that, it was pretty good. But the story and the characters, man, what an unlikable bunch of like ne'er-do-wells. Like, they're absolutely awful. It was hard to like any of the characters in this game. The protagonist in particular is very much a product of a bygone era. Like, he is basically Duke Nukem in the modern day, basically. He's just so repugnant, so unlikable, and I just couldn't believe what a misfire this protagonist was. The rest of the cast is pretty nondescript and uneventful. The plot is a mess. And I feel like this game's strengths, like its art direction, all that sort of stuff, it's all shown off primarily in, I think, the linear sections and, like, the more inside areas. So I think this game would have benefited very much by trimming the open world areas that it just crams into the middle and sort of tail into the game. And, tried to make it a more linear shooter, like Bioshock. Like, if it's going to try and be Bioshock, then be Bioshock. Don't add all this other fluff. So, yeah, look, it was a bit disappointing, obviously, but, yeah, I don't know. I know James has been playing it a little bit, so maybe he's got some early thoughts, but, yeah, I was pretty disappointed by it. But at the end of the day, it's still one of those weird guilty pleasure games, in a way. Like, games that are sort of bad enough that they're still good and you like them. Like, I don't think I'll play another game this year that's as, like, mechanically sound, but, like, weird. Yeah, it's, like, weird but bad at the same time, but still sort of kind of good. I don't know.
I think, like, I'm like a few hours in, and I haven't got to the point. I think it shits the bed when it goes more open, which it hasn't done yet for me. And I'm playing it on hard, so I'm dying a lot. So I'm probably taking way longer than I should be to get through it. I think from the beginning, the production values are quite schmick. Like, it's very nice looking, and like that music that plays as it like flies you over the city or whatever it is like, obviously it's very Bioshock. And like some of the shots are like frame for frame the same as Bioshock as well. Like, there was a scene where, like, a woman is, like, snatched out of the sky while reaching for it. It was, like, exactly the same as Bioshock Infinite. It was really weird how shameless it is. But like Brody was saying, the characters are awful. Like, it is so...
It's so bizarre.
But then you look at all the preview material, and I don't think anyone was speaking in that. So, like, that's probably why they must have known. But, like, I don't... It's just,
I just
like
had this
awful...
weird feeling when we were previewing it, that it was like they were very careful of what we were seeing, and like, I just had this weird feeling that as a whole it just wasn't going to come together well.
Even just like I don't normally notice this kind of thing in games as much, but like all the women robots are like sexy, but then the male robots are like blocks or animals, and it's like, and then I sent you guys a clip earlier from this fridge that moans at you and like asks you to thrust shit into it, and I was just like, it's just I saw that clip out of context, hoping that when I got to that point it would make sense, but it doesn't. I just think I would have found this funny when I was like 13, like, back in the day. It reminds me a lot of Borderlands in that way. I felt that way about Borderlands as well. Like, I felt like the humor has just long... It's downright like sexist, first of all, but like just on top of that, like it is just so unfunny and so unlikable, and it's very similar to not in the sexist way, obviously, but with Forspoken and Frey, just the quips, and they're just all shit. Like it's just not good dialogue. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, like the protagonist says crispy critters no
I do see
less
a lot of
than
people say
100
Hi-Fi
times.
Rush was like that too, but I feel like Hi-Fi Rush was going for like a fun, like light-hearted tone, whereas Forspoken was probably a bit more like realistic. And this game in particular is just so up and down. Like I don't really know what it's trying to be. Like is it trying to be like a serious politically charged BioShock game, or is it trying to be this like kind of weird, tongue-in-cheek, like satirical kind of situation?
Yeah. That's so
yeah,
disappointing to hear.
It's
like,
it's I think if you like BioShock, it will scratch that itch. Like it's not going to be as good as that, but if you want a new BioShock-esque experience while you're waiting for, say, System Shock end of March or something, you will get that from this 100%. That being said, I'm not up to the open world stuff yet. Apparently that does bloat it, and this comes back to like what I was saying before, like where people need to be okay with their games being 10 to 15 hours. Like we don't need every game to be 60 hours.
No.
But it's on Game Pass. Nothing to lose to jump in on PC or Xbox, obviously. Yeah.
Interesting. I think I'm the main character, because it's kind of like set up that he's like this this agent that's kind of recruited, and he's kind of, at least the way he's introduced, like presumably a bad guy. Like he's there to kind of aid the people that are running this city gone wrong sort of thing, right? But I sort of figured that like throughout the course of the game, he was going to kind of clue into the fucked up things that they were doing and kind of then turn against them and fight the system, I suppose.
Yeah,
but,
I haven't finished it, but it seems pretty like predictable. Like I feel like I know where it's going.
But I thought like predicting that storyline, I'm surprised that the character's still so unlikable. Like it just kind of sounds...
He's just awful.
It's because everyone's so unlikable. Like, so you don't care about the double bluffs and then the triple bluffs. You're like, all these people are shit, so, like, why do I care about the stakes in any of this?
Yeah. There's literally not, like, a likable... So far, I'm like, these people are cool. Like, they're
and
all awful.
There's, like, a twist to a character that they, like, pull out of their left pocket, and it's so borderline offensive. Like, they make him a fairly reasonable scientist and then turn him into a raging lunatic in the span of, like, 90 minutes. All to kind of force another forced allusion to BioShock. Like, they literally, without spoilers, very minor spoilers, they, like, drive the game in a direction that leaves you in a theater that's awfully similar to Fort Frolic, like, from BioShock. Like, they literally just rip out the greatest hits of BioShock 1 and just, like, deal them out throughout this game. It's crazy.
Wow. I can tell just the way you're speaking about it that you are, like, that incensed.
There's a fucking lighthouse in this game. Like... What more do you need? Like, Christ almighty.
Do you think they're, like, trying to, like, almost go over the top with that, though? Or are they literally just inspired by it too much? Like, which way does it go?
I mean, technically, this could be a BioShock game. Like, it could be another universe.
But that's what I mean. Like, are they trying
to... Like, are they trying to be, like, meta?
Yeah.
I mean, no. I hope not. But...
Yeah, like, I think they're just inspired by it. Like, but the allusions that they draw to the game, like, are just so on the nose. Like, there are some that are just so blatant. Like, so I'm like I said, I tweeted today, like, I'm thinking about, like, writing an article and just, like, listing them off. Because it's just... It's crazy, like, how many there are.
I mean, a lighthouse is, like, pretty... Given,
and especially given the setting, it's not.
Can I say another one? Like it doesn't affect the plot of this game at all.
I'm genuinely curious. Now, to be honest.
There's a moment where you're going down an elevator and like it drops past like this underwater area, and there's like another like facility underwater, and they're like, that's the Neptune Center, a Rapture. Like they literally say Rapture, referring to their underwater center. I'm like, oh my god, what more can you do to...
Even like the opening cutscene is like you're on a boat, you're going through like this city and you're seeing everybody live their lives and how robots are affecting their lives and stuff. And you just know, because you've played 3 BioShock games before, that these are the enemies that you'll be fighting later and like the powers you'll be... Do you know what I mean? Like it's very much like...
It's a wonder why this friendly commenter that we had today on Facebook wondered why I drew so many comparisons to BioShock. Like this game compares itself to BioShock constantly. So I think
if you play it... Yeah, like I mean, I'm not as far as Brody is, but like I've already seen like I reckon 10
You'll see what I
same.
mean. It's egregious.
And it will get worse. Yeah.
This is wild. I mean, certainly like the opening that we saw in the preview, very Bioshock. And I was like, this is par for the course, I feel, though. Like, they're setting it up, and I imagine they're going to do different things with it down the line. Sounds like they didn't, and they just kind of really tripled down on it, and interesting. I'm pleased that you still enjoyed the combat, though, and the kind of design of the environment design held up throughout. Like, I feel like that enough would be interesting enough to me that I'd play through the game. But yeah, I'm disappointed that the story didn't. It sounds like it tried to emulate Bioshock in every other way other than tell a compelling story.
Yeah, and that is its main sin, I guess, is that it's failed to deliver characters or a story that you really care about. But if you're interested at all in like halfway, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but a game that I guess does what Bioshock did in a halfway reasonable way, kind of like if you ever played like Singularity back in like the late 2000s, like that game was very much a Bioshock-like as well. It's like that, but with a bit more open world fluff that you can sort of blow through if you just run past it. But so if you treat it more linearly, like you might find something you really enjoy. And there is enough here to enjoy. It's just I was particularly offended by some of the the stuff that the game did poorly. So
yeah.
Even like when you get a new power, like it's illustrated to you as like a cartoon, like do you know what, like a
like full out of
time
Bioshock
cartoon. Yeah.
Right.
It's just very similar.
Interesting. Well, Brady, thank you for sharing your review. I'm sorry I didn't enjoy the game more. Sounds like there's still something in there for people, and hopefully I still enjoy it. But I know you were particularly excited about it, so feel for you. And well done for battling through some of the technical difficulties we had there as well. I think we'll notice your camera kind of in and out a little bit. But
I'm hotspotted now.
Nice.
I knew it was a video podcast, so I thought I'd make it as awkward for you as possible to edit. So.
Just complicating the edit for me. Lovely. Yeah. All right. Well, let's stick with reviews, but from Atomic Hearts, pivot to Wild Hearts. James, how did you find the latest EA original?
Lots of hearts, isn't there?
Lots of hearts. It's very confusing.
Yes. Let me just quickly. There we go.
Nice.
Wild Hearts really took me by surprise. I think when they first announced it, I thought it was ripping off Horizon Zero Dawn, but it's actually ripping off Monster Hunter. So, but in a good way.
Just lots of rip-offs today, huh?
It is. Yep. But that's fine. It's kind of like Monster Hunter meets Fortnite. That probably sounds horrible to anyone over the age of 12, but like I think. Like, you know, you've got all these different monsters that are inspired by like Eastern mythology, and you can build stuff. Like, obviously, you've got your weapons to hunt them down with and all that, but you can also like build stuff. Like, you can build traps, you can build like giant hammers to smash them with. Like, there's just so much to it. It is like a pretty, I think, compared to a Monster Hunter game, it is a bit smaller in scope and scale. But overall, I think it's really fun. I really enjoyed it by myself. But I started a new character after launch and started playing with some friends, and I'm enjoying it even more. Like, it's just really a really solid game that not something we typically see from EA, first of all. And then, you know, I think, like, this is the Dynasty Warriors developer. Like, how did they make something so good? Because Dynasty Warriors isn't, you know, the most...
Didn't set your world on fire.
Compelling. I know there's 47 of them, but like they're not the most compelling games. Like, but yeah, I really, really like it. I really recommend it if you like Monster Hunter. I think it sits in between, in terms of like sweatiness rank, like where Rise is the sweatiest and World is like more normal. I think Wild Hearts sits squarely in the middle if you're a Monster Hunter person. So
is it like more abridged? Is it kind of a bite-sized sort of thing? I'm used to EA Originals being kind of a short-lived thing, but
I mean,
like,
like 20 to 40 hours, I reckon, for most people.
Right.
Yeah, it's probably I would say it's the biggest scale EA Original game so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's genuinely fantastic, and I hope it does well because I think there's really, really solid foundations here for like a good franchise.
Cool.
To start, but yeah, I really recommend it. I think with Game Pass you get 10 hours free if you want to try it.
Oh, yeah.
If you're on Game Pass as well, so it's a kind of easy way to get into it. See if you like it. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it besides it's great. I do like it can be a bit grindy, but those games, if you play Monster Hunter, you kind of know what to expect. It's nothing new to that kind of game. But having friends to do it with definitely alleviates that. So
Yeah, I hadn't appreciated there was a cooperative element to it as well. I can see.
3 people and very seamless, and some of the best progression I've seen in the game. Like better than say like this is random, but like you would think a game like Far Cry could get it right, but it doesn't. But everything you do in Wild Hearts, even if you're a guest, is still carries over back to your main game.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's really solid.
So not progression of the story, I take it, but like character.
If you're at the same point, you can progress together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So and it will say to you like you're at the same point as this person now, so you'll progress together or something like it warns you. So yeah, you still can progress story together, which is really good.
That's awesome. That whole
and then just take back your gear. Just take back your gear back to your game if you do. You know what I mean? Like it's just really well done.
Nice. Well, you also reviewed Octopath Traveler 2 this week, busy as you often are.
Yeah.
How did that compare?
Better than the original.
Ooh, nice.
But only marginally. So, yeah.
Sounds like a school report all of a sudden.
No, well, yeah, like it's the same kind of game. I know I've actually seen this around a lot. I don't think the novelty obviously isn't as fresh this time around. So like,
sure.
I mean, I wasn't going to dock it points for that, but there's been a lot of arguments about that because I don't know. It's like some other outlets have said it's better than the original, but have given it a lower score because the novelty's not there. But like, I think it's fine. It's more of the same. The big things with this one is like, obviously they wanted the 8 characters to talk together more. That was something a lot of people wanted from the first game.
Yeah.
That is reflected in there's new quest lines now where like 2 people will have their own chapter sets, which means like, so these characters will interact, but it's still quite static. And like I said this in my review, like it's going to be impossible to predict the order that, you know, people get 8 characters because this game is open, you can do whatever you want, right? And get these characters in that order. Like how are you going to predict who has what characters when and get dialogue for all of those options? Like it's just such a big undertaking logistically.
Yeah.
So it's never going to be perfect, but I don't think it ever was meant to be in the first place, but that's just something people wanted. But yeah, it's really, if you want another solid RPG, like I know there's a lot of them, but this one is still one of the best. The cool thing with this one as well is you can press a button to change from day to night. That changes the enemies you encounter, but also changes the music. So the music might go from like these big booming like orchestral set pieces like during the day to like this more like mellow, relaxing versions of the same music, but at night, and that's all done with the press of a button. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a lot I can say about it, but it is very much like just slightly improved from the first game, but the first game was pretty good in the first place. So yeah.
Nice. Interesting how you sometimes like more of the same. Sometimes that's a knock against it. Just throwing back to our
it depends.
Zelda conversation last week.
Yeah. Well, I guess
is it depends. A PlayStation game? Is it not? That's really the.
But these are both PlayStation. What do you mean? Like it's on PlayStation and Switch. I just think with Octopath 2, they marketed it and made no mistakes about what it was. So
that's fair. That's fair.
Right.
Well, do go check out both of James's reviews and Brody's review of Atomic Heart over on the website. Read those in full. But for now, we are going to move into some of the news in today's show. And I want to start off with Nintendo and Xbox signing a deal. Just before we started recording, Brad Smith from Nintendo announced a 10-year contract between them and Xbox, ensuring Call of Duty will be on their platforms. He also seemed to suggest that some other Xbox games could be included, but it's unclear as to what that might entail for now. But Shannon, firstly to you, what do you make of this news, this announcement?
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because it's never been more unclear if this deal is actually going to go through. Like once we were all saying like there's no reason why it won't, and now I feel like we actually don't know if it's going to go through, and if it is, it feels like it's still a year plus away. So that's the first unknown, and then like how is Call of Duty going to run on a Switch is the second unknown, and the third unknown is what you just mentioned, like the image with the statement clearly says Call of Duty, but then his tweet mentions Xbox games and not Call of Duty at all, which to me, that's totally different, right? Because if we're talking about just Xbox games in general, that could be Hi-Fi Rush coming to Switch or Halo or X, Y, and Z. Like, it could actually be meaningful now, where like the Call of Duty part of this, like, it probably will eventuate because I'm assuming that the Xbox deal, the Activision deal, will pass. But if that didn't pass, then this is meaningless. But if that Xbox side includes the Xbox games, like, then yeah, this deal could very well be huge for the industry as we know it right now. So I feel like, yeah, I don't know what time it is in the US, but I think it's like 4 a.m. So to put that out then, I don't know why you would do that in a tweet where, like I mentioned, like, this is huge news. If this is Xbox saying we've committed to Nintendo for 10 years that we're going to bring Xbox games to the Switch, like, that is massive. But my gut says that the way that this was done, it probably isn't that.
Yeah, my gut is that this is them trying to kind of appease the regulators and just kind of put a 10-year contract together to sort of demo what that could entail, I suppose. But that deal I make mention of, they've made mention of offering a similar arrangement to PlayStation as they combat in the courts this Activision Blizzard acquisition. Brody, do you think Nintendo are wise to take this deal as PlayStation continue to dismiss it? Oh, Brody, we can't hear you. Is your mic muted?
Oh, I'm just muted. It's okay. I thought I cut out again. Yeah, I mean, look, it's probably going to benefit Nintendo in the long run if this does go through. So to have this in place, I guess, is going to be a good thing for them. Like everyone, I'm interested as to how this is going to work, like how these games, whether it's all going to be like cloud streaming or not, I guess remains to be seen, or if it's a longer play thing where they have it in mind for the next Switch. But yeah, I mean, it sets them up in a good place. It ensures that they're going to get regular Call of Duty games and potentially other things. And look, I do think it could extend to things like because they've had a pretty good relationship so far, like with Ori going across to the Switch, Minecraft, obviously. GoldenEye is obviously a recent collaboration between the two. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's only good. So, yeah.
James, how do you see this manifesting in the kind of years ahead? Like, do you think it'll be their kind of game streaming service? Like, could Game Pass be an app on the Switch? Where do you see this headed?
I don't know. I thought originally, because this was mentioned before, don't know, like, and I thought that would just be like a COD mobile port, because the Switch is basically mobile hardware in a way. Like, I'm not being shady, but you know what I mean. Like, architecturally speaking, it is similar to a phone. But the wording of this is like talking about like parity with Xbox and stuff, and I don't really know how that works in terms of like the games, obviously. But then, like, I don't know, like Metroid Prime looks pretty good. Like a COD campaign could look pretty good if it looked like that, and that's more linear potentially. But then I also think, like, who's going to put the effort in that was put into that, you know? So it's doable. I just don't know whether they'll bother. I wouldn't be surprised to see Game Pass streaming be on a Switch. Like, it's on TVs already. It's on phones. Like, it's everywhere. Like, why not put it on Switch as well? Yeah. Like, I think, like, long term, 100% Switch, like, streaming is the way to get around, say, any performance issues and stuff too. So
I don't know much about. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say I don't think COD multiplayer. I guess it would work, but I don't really think that would be the ideal
and Apex are on Switch.
I know.
I mean, they're the worst ways to play, but
I think like COD multiplayer definitely would work, because like that actually isn't that intensive to run. Like a PS5 can run it at 4K 120, so like a Switch could definitely run a version of that. It is the campaign that's more challenging. But just reading this again, like I said, this is just part of our commitment to bring Xbox games and Activision titles like Call of Duty to more players. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I wish we had more info, because, to bring Xbox games to Nintendo games is a really weird way to phrase something that you don't yet own. Like, I don't, it just, that is the part to me that is a weird way to put that sentence.
Yeah, I think this just has to be a continuation of Xbox, like, moving away from moving away from being a hardware and game publisher and moving
everywhere.
just to being a game publisher.
A
Like we don't
service,
care
yeah.
where you play our games, we just want you to play them. And yeah, that kind of service mentality. I mean, like you can see that with that being bundled in with Samsung TVs and stuff now. Like there's so many ways to play
Yeah,
Xbox
and
games
there's
without
what
buying a
140
console.
million Switches sold. So like if there is like a Halo or whatever on Switch, like you're gonna open it up to that game to sell more on Switch than it ever could on an Xbox
Yeah.
Series X.
It mightn't be enough to save Halo Infinite, but yeah, I think it makes sense for Xbox to kind of tap into that ecosystem. How exactly they go about that, I definitely see this going more towards a streaming route, I think, than... I mean, cloud gaming is obviously already an established thing on the Switch. It's hard to imagine, like, getting green cartridges in the future to plug into your Switch. But that could be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I do hope that this is actually more than just what we've spoken about. Like a promise to bring Call of Duty to Switch if this passes. Like I do hope this is actually bringing or looking to bring games like Hi-Fi Rush or anything that can run to the Switch and then the Switch 2 or Pro or whatever it's called.
Brody, do you think this does anything to appease regulators in that deal conversation, or do they look at this and go,
That it's like lip service a little bit.
everything's good, Xbox is going to play a ball fine, or are they going to see it for
Look, I
service?
don't think there's any questions over whether Microsoft are going to try and, spread the wealth in terms of Call of Duty and stuff. It's just more whether Sony are going to come to the party and accept that. I think that's obviously the one thing holding this up, at least looking from the outside. So I guess it can only help, to see a working relationship that is going to guarantee the message of putting those games onto more consoles technically. I don't know. It's hard. Shannon's right. Like a year ago when this was announced or whatever, we thought it was a foregone conclusion almost. So, but at the moment, I'm never been more unsure about where this is going to land. So,
Yeah, well, we'll definitely keep tabs on it and see how it goes. Something I'm a little unsure at how it's going to go is PlayStation continuing to bring their games to PC, because Returnal is not doing amazingly on PC right now. According to Steam DP, it just had a 7,000 peak concurrent player count in its opening weekend, well shy of the 74,000 that God of War had upon its release, or the 28,000 that Days Gone had. Shannon, firstly to you, does this surprise you that Returnal is not doing gangbusters on PC?
It's tough, right? It does surprise me that it's had less than Days Gone and even God of War to a certain extent, because it is PS5 exclusive. So like there's a load of people that would have a PC that don't have a PS5 yet for whatever reason. And B, like this just seems like the type of game that would drop on PC and like go viral and really take off in the PC market. I don't know how expensive it is. I assume it's like $100 or 80 to 100, so full price. But it does surprise me that, given God of War and Days Gone, in terms of like God of War launching, 5-6 years after its release, and Days Gone just not really having any footing in any market, like it does surprise me. But then again, like think about the time that this is dropping. Like I didn't even know it was dropping when it was. And there's just so many games to play at the moment on any platform. So that would have to have something to do with it, I would think.
Yeah, I do wonder if timing's an issue. James, can you see this deterring PlayStation from bringing more games to PC in the future?
No, I don't. I think like they would have seen the numbers for Returnal originally, which like I'm assuming, even though it's like I think it's my favorite PS5 exclusive still, they would have expectations, I think, and set them accordingly. To be honest, yeah. So. And I think like them buying Nix is like quite an indication that they kind of want to have like a porting team for all their stuff, even if they are doing it in a way that probably encourages people to double dip. Like I think that they have a clear strategy, and it's going to mostly work for them with most of their games. So
yeah, well,
$95. $95 Returnal is.
That's a lot of. I know it's the same on PS5, but it's not really an impulse buy.
It was
like
it's
also in the plus,
$125
isn't it, now?
on PS5.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I do wish they had some sort of system to kind of, like, even if it was discounted, if you had it on PS5 as well, because I would gladly play this game again.
Will like play
I reckon it
anywhere,
would
like
look
with
great on PC. Yeah,
Xbox.
yeah, some sort of system like that would be ace. Brody, I want to give you the opportunity though, because I know, like James, you love this game. Do you want to make an impassioned plea to PC owners to go and play this game?
No, not really. I mean, I love it.
Wow.
It's a great game. I don't care that much. Like, if you don't want to play it, don't play it. I don't care. But you're missing out.
In my opinion, it is like...
to make a Shrek mod, like you can play as Shrek, and then it will go viral.
That's not where I thought that was going.
Everyone will buy it. That's all you need these days.
It is the perfect like handheld game in my opinion. Like I know you played it on Steam Deck, Brody, and I've got it on my ANEO here. Like I am keen to play it in that way if it runs well, because I do think it is that type of game where you just want to play between watching something or whatever.
It's still an imperfect experience, I guess, on Steam Deck. Like it's not 100% optimized, but obviously your tip as far as like the FSR goes made it playable at least. So yeah, I mean it is a good game for that. Like it suits that on the run, on the go, like play a run on the bus sort of thing if that suits you. So if you're after an arcade game like that, sure, go for it. But yeah.
I mean, it's certainly challenging though. I feel like, given the tightness of the gunplay, I'd prefer to be behind a keyboard and mouse myself. But hey, just go and play it. You should. It's an amazing game. I was way too late on the bandwagon that is Returnal, so don't make the same mistake I did. But we should do a rapid fire question before we move into what the wiki. I was thinking I could set up a nice segue to what the wiki there or something, but there's a rapid fire question I want to get to. Minecraft Crocs have been revealed. What video game Croc collaboration would you like to see, James?
I want it to be clear that I would normally say no, but for the sake of the fun question and some levity, I will say Metroid.
Metroid, ooh.
Because they're like blue and jelly-like, so it's like kind of works.
Yeah,
you know?
Oh, okay. So they make them look like the Metroids,
yeah.
you mean? Yeah, nice.
No, I would never wear them. But
Shannon, what about yourself?
I tweeted Crocs, and I'm just going to stick with that because it's funny,
That's
I think,
good.
and it fits.
That was gonna be my answer. So I'll take
Gex
what
Crocs.
I thought. I'll take what I
Gex,
thought
yeah.
Shannon's other answer was, and I'll say Ape Escape Crocs, I guess. So.
I was going to say that as well.
I thought about Fall Guy ones because you could just have like the
yeah.
gibbets as the eyes. They could be kind of cool.
That would be cool. What are gibbets?
Crash Crocs.
The things that you stick on the Crocs.
The
to
ornaments.
decorate
Yeah.
them.
We bought Eddie some
The
Crocs,
ornaments.
and he's got like a little Lightning McQueen ornament. But it
Someone
doesn't
was
fit.
wearing Crocs in the
Amazing.
office today, Ewan, and I questioned that.
Really?
It's a choice. Yeah.
That's a
Sorry
faux
if you're
pas.
watching.
Questionable. I don't know if that's appropriate for work. I was gonna say Crash Bandicoot and have like the furry lined ones.
Crash Crocs.
I reckon that'd be cool. Crash Crocs. Yeah.
I'm starting to look like Violet Beauregard.
amazing.
Fucking sun's gone down. I'm looking purple. Sorry, everyone, about
Go
the
watch
video
the video
podcast.
version
I need
too.
to get some lighting in here. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, it's time for What the Wiki, the Press Start podcast game show where the previous week's winner reads part of a Wikipedia page for an unknown game, and we, the contestants, must guess the game. A point is awarded for each correct guess, and the round ends after a person guesses correctly twice. Brody is currently in the lead with 5 points, myself and James just behind on 4 points apiece, and then Kieran and Shannon tied in third place with 3 points each. But Shannon, you made a bit of a comeback last week.
I did.
Lifting
I'm back,
yourself
baby.
off bottom, tied for third now, and subsequently you are the host for today.
I haven't listened. What were the games that Shannon won with last week?
What were they? I can't remember.
I
They
don't
were
know.
both like
They were both two sequels of other games.
they were like
this
sequels.
year,
Sony
You
so-
games,
just
probably.
guessed the number.
PlayStation games.
Right.
Oh, settle down, Brody. I'm going to quickly change my games here, actually.
Well, Shannon, the show is yours.
Show is mine.
That was never a dispute.
The single-player mode is radically different from previous games in the series, most resembling a trading card game. The single player travels to various levels in the form of islands to compete against other monkeys in an assortment of mini-games. After a set number of victories, the player can then compete against a boss character. This cycle is repeated for each island visited in increasing difficulty. Occasionally, the player will encounter unexpected bosses. These challenges cannot be declined. much like this round, which I'm forcing down your throat. The objective of the game is to collect cards and coins eventually to the point that a player can attempt to defeat the antagonist and win. There is a multiplayer component which includes a monkey shield.
Look, I don't know what this is, but I'm just going to guess.
Can we just skip it?
Ewan, is this Ape Escape 2?
No.
Brody.
That ensures Brody.
Is it an Ape Escape game?
Is it Ape Escape on the move?
No. James, I feel like...
Are you
ensures the
testing our
second
knowledge
player
of, like,
cannot
Ape
see
Escape
the player
games? I
one
hate
card.
this.
This mode requires a second PSP and game cartridge. The primary antagonist Spectre introduces a
James?
new... Yes, James.
Ape Escape
My God.
Portable.
Do you not know that there's other Ape Escape games that aren't called Ape Escape? Like, I should get this round
No.
for stumping all three of
Nobody,
you.
like, nobody bought
No one
them.
cares
so
about Ape Escape
My
games as much as you
God,
do.
you're all flops. Like,
I'm calling.
James would be like,
I'm
"Oh,
calling for
Legend of Dragoon 74," and like, I'm expected to get that.
There's like one of those, and that would still be more relevant
My
than
God.
Ape Escape. At least that's on something now. Like,
Do none of you know? Ape and 2 is correct, but there's another word in the middle.
oh, James,
Oh,
Yeah,
we're just
James.
giving it away now.
Ape Academy 2.
It is Ape Academy 2. Well done, James.
That is.
They
a
were
flop.
both. They were great games on PSP. Better than Mario Party.
I'm sure. Oh, okay.
I'm
well,
going to need to get a second opinion.
That's frowned upon. The way they played it.
Okay.
Anyway.
Just hurry it up. It's like really hot in here.
Is
I'm happy to say no
a
to that point.
2004 racing video game. It is the third installment
Brody.
in the series. Yes, Brody.
Burnout 3 Takedown.
It is Burnout 3 Takedown.
It
Well done,
was-
Brody.
So quick on the pulse. I love
Yeah.
it.
All right, let's do this. If Ewan gets this, then we're in trouble. It's just going to be another escape game from the back of my mind. The game is an interactive drama in which players primarily assume control of 8 young adults who have to survive
James.
until they...
Is it
Yes,
the Quarry?
James. It's not the Quarry.
Brody.
Ewan,
Ewan.
Oh,
is it Until
fuck.
Dawn?
It is Until Dawn. Ewan. Oh no. Oh,
I'd like to
no.
hear the playback on that.
Look, even if you did go first, Ewan, Brody, I would have still picked Ewan for that time that you dogged me.
That's fair.
Did you have a tiebreaker prepared?
I don't, but we're gonna get one. Just relax.
Oh wow! I'll do a recap of the scoring then, where we're at. Brody has defended his lead. He's up to 6 points now. James, though, actually, James and I tied 5 points apiece in second place. So, no change to the order, but opening up the gap.
Great recap, Yui.
Thank you. Can Ewan or James tie with Brody in first place? How
Wasn't
long
like
did you and Vamp to cover Shannon?
All right, I've got one. I've got a good one.
Okay.
He says.
Following a hacker's journey into a malfunctioning AI
Ewan.
system.
Brody next.
No, I panicked.
Go, Ewan.
No. I was going to say Watch Dogs, but...
Oh.
Brody.
Now, I don't know how you're going with this. So I'm just going to say Rez.
It is Rez. Well done, Brody. You
Well
have won
done,
this round.
Brody.
We're just synergized beyond belief.
I didn't know if you were going to dog me
I
and
was a
say
deer in the
Rez
headlights.
Infinite.
No, it is Rez and very topical. Another great PSVR 2 game you should jump into if you've never played it before.
Absolutely.
What a great round. What a round worthy of our first video round ever.
And with that, let's bring an end to what was this week's episode of the Press Start Podcast. Subscribe to us on Listener or the podcast service of your choice. Follow us at press.au and visit the site at press.com.au. What did I just miss?
James's microphone I'm laughing at.
If you want to see what James is playing on his mic, you're going to have to check out the new video version over on our YouTube. We've been joined today by Shannon.
Yeah, you can follow me at shancake_ on Twitter.
We've also been joined today by James.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Jams, ATJAMZ.
And last but not least, it was Brody.
I'm sitting in the literal dark right now. Like, we've gone from daylight to night in like fucking half hour. Yeah, you can follow me on most things at Brody_DG.
And I've been your host, Ewan Roxburgh. You can follow me on Twitter at Ewan_Roxburgh. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, happy gaming.
Bye.
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 Bye.